Thank you, Morristown Tea Party, for hosting this event. It is truly a privilege for the Montgomery Tea Party to be here today and for me to represent the Montgomery Tea Party. So thank you very much, Morristown. All of us here today are part of the Tea Party movement that is writing the history of America that's unfolding before our very eyes. Our spirit, our vision, our passion, and our belief in each other to know and understand the difference between right and wrong will save this great American country that we call home. And I emphasize our ability to distinguish between right and wrong because the fact of the matter is that we are knee-deep in the battle that in its simplest terms is a battle to ensure that good does prevail over evil, as it should, and as every good story goes. In 2008, when President Obama was running for election, you could sense that something was wrong. You all know the skinny, part-term senator from Chicago coming out of nowhere that was unable to decide yay or nay during Senate vote calls. A media that suddenly forgot their responsibility to engage in investigative reporting. And at least one book, Audacity of Hope, that defined the then candidate Obama's vision for America as merely a roof over your head, food on the table, and an education for your children. Noticeably absent was the reality that every one of us has the opportunity to fulfill our American dream. And that dream, in its simplest substance, is to accumulate wealth for our personal security and to reach our full potential as individuals. The strange origin of the then candidate Obama and the foreign beliefs that he has seemed harmless on the surface. And that's to the voters that put him into office. Yet many of us, and many of you out there today, knew there was something very wrong. So wrong that the Tea Party movement began. And in doing so, awakened those of us that understand what Obama represented and what is happening to our country. Honesty and truth were scant then, and to this day we have to wonder what the truth is. In our bones, we know we were and are being lied to, and ever deeper levels of deceit are being released almost daily in the news media, such as how some of the almost $1 trillion in stimulus money was squandered by our government. Lying and deception is no casual matter. Lying and deception is the root of all evil. Today, not a day passes that the Tea Party is not mentioned in national news. Could any one of us here have predicted only 2 years ago that a Republican primary debate would be sponsored by Tea Party? And who could have imagined that members of our country could dare criticize that which the Tea Party stands for without themselves being exposed as seditionist traitors? Constitutionally based laws, free markets, limited government, fiscal responsibility, freedom, liberty, personal responsibility. These are the elements that made America the wealthiest, most prosperous, most secure country in the history of all mankind. But criticize they do. And for the Montgomery Tea Party, these events help create the code that characterizes the unique principles of our Tea Party. First, the Constitution as the fundamental rule of law. It's weird that we have to emphasize such an obvious requirement that is in every oath of public office. But apparently elected officials love to interpret the words as a matter of convenience rather than a simple, solemn promise. Second, the government and its appointees are accountable and required to deliver complete, meaningful reports in clear, plain English to taxpayers for all sources and uses of tax dollars. This sounds simple and obvious, yet we all know that budgeting, taxing, and spending is a complex game of three-card Monte that we citizens are forced to endure. Third, elected government officials are accountable for publicly stated commitments and delivering promised results. Promises made during an election, or any time for that matter, are a verbal contract that must be honored out of respect for one's word as well as respect for citizens. Fourth, elected government officials and their appointees and bureaucrats that serve them are subject to discipline, recall, or dismissal should they fail to honor their obligations to deliver those promised results. Of course, there cannot be a requirement without consequences. And lastly, fifth, states have rights. One of them is to put its citizens first and displace federal services at the expense of the U.S. Treasury should states determine that federal efforts are inefficient or ineffective. In many areas of government, such as immigration, education, and energy, states have delegated responsibility to the federal government. That's fine. Delegating responsibility to a national government might seem like a sensible thing to do, but there has to be accountability on the part of the federal government. And it's the responsibility of the states to ensure the federal government performs. The stark reality is making this happen under current laws is near impossible. But the code serves to illustrate the reason. The laws and regulations governing government accountability are written by the very elected officials and bureaucrats that would otherwise be subjected to them. Put another way, we have allowed the patients to take over managing the insane asylum. Thankfully, the Tea Party has become the supervisor for Republicans and Democrats alike. We are asking the questions that the non-existent investigative reporters consistently fail to ask. We are making our presence known during public meetings at all levels of government. We are addressing the lack of basic common sense practices that take our elected officials and bureaucrats to task on their actions and results. We are taking them where elected officials and bureaucrats have rarely gone before. Accountability to their paymasters, we the people. Our local affairs chairman, Walt Beedling, has proven that simply being consistently present during twice-monthly township committee meetings and engaging in town business matters can make a stunning difference. I do not have the time to share with you all of the successes that Walt has achieved. Instead, I encourage you to visit the Montgomery Tea Party booth on the other side of the green and find out for yourself from speaking to the members that are here about the many wonderful successes that we have had through Walt's leadership and what we've achieved in a very short period of time. There is no doubt in our group that these efforts have helped pave the way to build Tea Party credibility within the ranks of local politicians and party leaders. And no doubt that when these politicos attend mayoral conferences and other party gatherings, that they are well aware of who we are and that we are serious about putting our government back into the hands of its citizens' taxpayers. All it takes is consistency and a little perseverance, and you will be surprised at the results. It has always been our civic responsibility to integrate ourselves with our government. There has never been a time in history that our country needs us more, to be present and to participate in its government. May God continue to bless America. Thank you, everyone.
Woo!
Now I need a stand.